So though he is very passionate, he's also very capable at how he's spending money. So I think that's a good balance between the two. And how he's going to be very conscious of how much money is allocated to which school. And definitely is how we talked about that side.
Great. I just wanted to say, just through sitting on hearings with Johnny, I'm not only listening to what all y'all mentioned, so passionate, so knowledgeable, and so committed to filling his shoes as the budget review assistant director this year, but he also goes above and beyond, really tries to improve the guidelines or the score sheets or anything he can really see that he's fixing. So I think he just goes above and beyond.
Okay. Any other points of discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All in favor of forwarding Johnny Ash for the budget review director position, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against and those that abstain. To 11-0-0 vote, Johnny has been approved. Congratulations. Okay. So next up on our agenda for the activities committee, we have Josh. Before we have you come up, we'll have Heather read quickly the description of the community activities committee. So again, as I mentioned last week, we had a resignation from the community activities committee. So we are forwarding another appointment to make sure we have undergraduate representation.
The Community Activities Committee is the subcommittee of the Program Activities Board. Oversees funding regarding projects which were created as learning and service experiences for UCLA student volunteers to work with off-campus non-UCLA student populations. It acts as a forum for soliciting views on the nature and goals of community service and makes allocation decisions for community service projects. Must attend a 4-hour orientation in early August, which won't happen clearly, resignation. And attend meetings which are held at least once per quarter. Must take part in hearings that last from morning until night. Must make at least 2 site visits. The 4 undergraduate members, 3 regular and 1 alternate, are appointed by the USAC president for a 1-year term, which will end in June. It is encouraged that you have experience with being a part of an organization that has applied for CAP, have knowledge about the importance of the programs, and that it is mandatory to attend meetings and
and then for the ARC, so we have no recommendation because we did not have an in-person interview with. Okay. So Josh, if I can have you come up front, you'll have 1 minute for your introduction. I'll let you know if you have about 10 seconds left, followed by 5 minutes of questions from the council, and then 1 minute for your closing.
Okay. Hi, I'm Josh. I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak and close myself. I'm a 3rd-year biochemistry student. I'm also from Wisconsin. Johnny's actually only the 2nd student I've encountered. So, 2 in 1 room. This is big. But coming here from Wisconsin, I got involved in service my freshman year. I joined a community service commission project called Best Buddies. Best Buddies is a project that has applied to CAC for funding. Just this year, I joined CSC staff, and through that gained a lot of exposure to other service causes and other problems that service organizations face. I think I'm an idealist turned realist, and I have a lot of great ideas. I'm only recently coming around to the importance of funding within service. So that's something that I want to get more involved in because I think I can have a huge impact.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead to 5 minutes of questions from the council. Ian?
So having applied to this funding by yourself, are there any improvements you see could be made in the process?
Yes, and I'm actually a part of the process change subcommittee of CAC this year. And so what we're looking at is kind of streamlining the application process. I don't think that hearings have that much of a role in the application process, so eliminating or reducing the hearings I think would be beneficial. I also think that the line item restrictions are too rigid. So CAC has allocates money in line items, and once the line item is closed, it cannot be reopened. I think that should change.
Okay, sure.
So you mentioned you were obviously active in CSC and in projects. How would you define conflict of interest?
How would I define conflict of interest? I think would be being in a position where I would prioritize CSC organizations over others within funding. And I think that that's something I need to be extremely aware of going in. being involved in service, going into a funding body that serves service groups, I think is essential. So it's double-edged. And I think the purpose of fair funding, and the purpose of any funding that addresses student groups, is to make sure that as many people as possible are affected, and that no one is given an advantage that they don't themselves do. So that's something I'll be aware of going in.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into 1 minute for your closing. I'll let you know you have 10 seconds left.
Okay, I want to thank you again for hearing me today. I'm really excited to get involved with the Community Activities Committee. And I've also been wondering this entire time how this table fit into this room. It's much bigger than the door, but that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and discuss your appointment. So you're welcome to stay present or feel more comfortable. You can step outside. So can I entertain a motion? Rudy?
I move to appoint Josh Steiner to Community Activities Committee.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Ian. We'll go ahead into discussions. If we can get any discussion regarding Ian?
I was very impressed with his answers to both the questions. I think it's clear that he grasps the issues. And how he doesn't understand how this table fits to the door, but other than that, I don't either, so I've been asking that question for months.
Okay, any other discussion? Isaac?
Having worked with him in CSC, I can definitely attest to his work ethic and dedication to all service groups across campus, and his passion for service and looking at service beyond the scope of just here at UCLA, but in the local community and from a much broader perspective. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times service is considered a band-aid solution, and we've had many discussions about this, about how to go beyond that. So congrats on that, and our ability to help service organizations do more work in the community is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that, Josh, I don't know if you remember, but I had an opportunity to meet you last year, in talking about best buddies. Unfortunately, I couldn't make that commitment in terms of serving in CSC, but, in our conversation, he expressed his passion for service. And I think, he really puts it in this opportunity well. In my opinion, he answers the questions that he presents him extremely well, and I'm more than confident that he's going to be a great role.
Any other points of discussion? Mario?
I just wanted to make sure that we all are aware that the table is split into four. So I think that's how it fit into this room. I actually thought about the same thing, and then I was like,
So let's stay focused on our discussion item.
That was important.
Thank you for the information, Mario. Okay, any other bits of discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against, and those abstained. To 11-0-0 vote. Move forward Josh Sharna for the Community Activities Committee. Congratulations. Okay, and so we have tabled our last appointment. Now we'll go ahead on to our officer and member reports. And first up on the agenda. So I had my meeting last Wednesday with Chancellor Block. I get one meeting in quarter, so I had a meeting to make up for our winter meeting. It was week 1, and then I have an additional meeting at the end of April. It's a 30-minute meeting, so we spent most of it talking about middle income affordability. I showed them a presentation based off some graphs and some evidence that we have based off of Davis and Berkeley's middle income scholarship programs that they have, and to see about the possibility of implementing it from the chancellor's end at UCLA. That agenda item has been added to the vice chancellor's meeting to be discussed amongst the vice chancellors. So I'll keep you updated on those conversations as they begin to progress more and more. But based off of the graphic evidence that we have for financial aid for students, we have a very robust financial aid program for low-income students. And then once you hit about $80,000 for your family expected income, it really jumps off and completely falls off. And so having these extra scholarships kind of builds it to a smoother exit opposed to the big jump off around 80,000. And even within the middle class scholarship that's offered from the state level, as well as multiple grant programs that are offered when you have 2 students and a family that apply that are attending the UC, which also works to help middle income students. This is to help other students who have, again, between 80 and about $120,000 to $150,000 income. We also discussed the statement of principles against intolerance and how the chancellor's office plans to implement it at UCLA. One suggestion that I had was to make it public the process of which that our administration looks at acts of discrimination on campus and how they choose to respond. There is a philosophy that is taken in place for how, like, what's kind of that threshold, how they respond to things, what is the time manner, how they reach out to different organizations. So one of my recommendations in that meeting was to explain to the student body what is that process and be as transparent about the philosophy as possible. So again, I'll keep you updated on those conversations as they begin to progress. It was also great. We had our dean of students, Maria Blandisi, present as well. So it was with her and Chancellor Block. So it was great to hear both their perspective on such important issues to our undergraduate population. Additionally, I had a meeting with Gilma, who's our new communications director. I sent you out an email today that she had forwarded me providing her contact information. She will be the one from now on, whenever we put information to that Google Doc, she'll be the one that's putting it onto the USAC Facebook page. I've also added her as an administrator to the Facebook page. So if you have any events that you would like to be advertised, I'd like to have pictures taken out, so we can put it onto our USAC Facebook page since it is very active, to try to build it up more. And I definitely encourage you all to, as we start to kind of build up that infrastructure more and more, definitely invite your friends to like it, participate in it as much as possible. And then on Saturday, we had our final round for the Regent Nominating Committee. So as student body president, I sit on that committee. So our applicants will now be forwarded to UCSA in around May to continue on for the student regent position. So you'll hear more from different organizations within the UC system about that process as it continues forward. So those are my main updates for my presidential officer report. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our internal vice president.
All right. This past week, I had the opportunity to meet with Nancy Greenstein of UCPD. We spoke about the different, don't laugh. We spoke about the different safety initiatives that are happening on our campus, as well as an upcoming meeting with Assistant Vice Chancellor Beck, who is new and has replaced Jack Wozniak. He started at the beginning of March, and so we will be scheduling an upcoming meeting with Heather Rose and myself and Sabrina Ziegler, along with one other person to kind of discuss with him campus climate issues and issues related to safety here on our campus. I also had the opportunity to meet with the Seoul office. Pam, Carissa, Sabrina, and I discussed the upcoming events that we will be putting on with Seoul, which will include a student leader networking opportunity for different student leaders. Now is the time that different organizations are undergoing the transition of leadership, and so we want to allow the opportunity for different student organization leaders to network, to establish relationships and foster a sense of collaboration into the new year. We will also be having the officer transition event on May 24th, which will include ways in which you should proceed in transitioning your new person into that position. There's lots of things that go into it, as you all know, we've undergone transitions, and so we're going to be making that open to the 1,000+ student organizations on our campus.
Okay, are there any questions for our internal vice president? Seeing none, we'll go on to our external vice president proxy. Okay, we'll go on to our academic affairs commissioner.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, this week is our primary meeting, so we had Bobby Rio, who was one of the leaders of the UCLA walkouts, come and talk to the general UCLA student body. Thank you for those of you that ended up coming. I really appreciated it. Hopefully you learned about kind of the progress that we've seen more recent decades of education and access. And moving forward, we have a lot of different events. Check out Facebook. In terms of meeting with administrators, I had the opportunity to schedule a meeting with Frank Wada for next Wednesday, coming on our last online steering meeting towards the end of this quarter, as well as continuing with our meetings with Academic Senate. In terms of another kind of component is tomorrow we'll be going up to Sacramento with Zach and one other member of his office to talk about essentially just financial budgets for this upcoming school year and talking about the legislature. We're ensuring that the UC really does not take a hit like it did this year, where we're receiving 950 students at approximately 50% of typical funding. So hopefully that we don't see that. And that is all.
Are there any questions for Academic Affairs Commissioner? Okay, we'll go ahead to our administrative representatives. Roy?
Since it's been so hotly discussed, I'm going to share with you, you're going to be surprised to hear, Fort Williams finished a helicopter drop. Boy, this is fun. The table in his room, and then they finished the room. And, first, sorry, I mean,
Okay, anybody else? Yeah, all right. Okay. Dr. Neller? No, I can't stop that. Okay, Michael Starr?
I just have to say something about the table in the report, and I so I'll get at that.
And Christine is not present and Patty is not here. So we'll go ahead on to our fund allocation. First up, our fund allocation, we have our contingency programming fund, so Stephanie.
So there are two USAC offices that applied this past week, and this was Academic Affairs Commission for the diversity tournament and the student honors commission for spring retreat. In total, they requested $1,284.50. They requested $700, and the finance committee recommended $400.
Okay, Zach?
I move to approve the contingency allocation for USAC offices for $420.
All right, this is a second by Alia. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? And those abstain? 1, 2. To a 9-0-2 vote. The contingency programming allocation has been approved. So we'll go on for student groups.
So there are some students who subscribe. They require $21,550.69. They requested $6,519.16, and the finance committee recommended $1,750.
Okay. Zach?
I move to approve the contingency allocation for $1,750.
And is there a second? Second by Trent. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against? And those abstain? So 11-0-0 votes. The contingency programming allocation for student groups has been approved. Thank you. Next up, we have our EDP Room Defenders Fund.
All right, so 3 organizations applied for the fund, and the first one is Time News Magazine applied for $500 for a conference that they attended late February that allowed them to unpack their everyday experiences with women of color, political issues, and to engage in dialogue around relevant issues.
Okay. So that was for the one, there were 3 groups that applied?
Yeah, the second one is Active Minds for a Leadership Conference that we held in Maryland in April to equip all returning and new members of the Student Advisory Committee with the skills and knowledge to change the conversation about mental health. And the third one is for $500 for the Shakespeare Company in UCLA for an Oregon Shakespeare Festival retreat to study the premiere North American interpreter of classic works, the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, to see how they can improve their own company, both artistically and medically.
Wow, fascinating. Okay, this is a consent item, so are there any objections or discussion regarding the Room Defenders Fund?
Dr. Elliott, I have a question. First one, you said they applied after the fact for expenses they'd already incurred. Do the program's guidelines allow retroactive funding?
We we've had this conversation before with EVP. I don't remember what the answer was. I remember there was a conversation about it. I don't think there was an issue, but I'm not sure. I think the issue was, I think the conversation was, if I recall correctly, was that that the program can apply retroactively, but we cannot approve it retroactively. And so,
What we essentially want to say is.
that's what I was thinking. Why don't we go ahead and table that allocation, so Zach can be present to answer questions, so it's for the first one. But yeah, why don't we go ahead and table that, if that's okay with our proxies?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and table it. So for the other two allocations, are there any objections or questions regarding the other two allocations? Okay, seeing none, the two other allocations that were approved by consensus. Okay, so if you can just tell Zach to bring back for the first allocation. Okay, thank you. Next up, we have our academic success referendum fund.
Yes. So we have two students apply. One is the Thai culture group. I don't want to butcher the last. The Thai culture group to bring in the Thai culture night. We recommended around $20, and then staff can help me on this. They requested, or we recommend an allocation of $500 for the Hawaii Club 31st annual luau.
Okay. Any discussion regarding the allocation for the academic success referendum fund? Okay, seeing none, it's been approved by consensus. Next up, we have our student wellness programming fund.
So we have one application from Colleges Against Cancer. This is for the Hawaii event in Drake Stadium, and we approved $500 for salary grade medical.
Okay. And just to clarify, by approved, do you mean that it has not been allocated yet?
I guess we're in the process of email. We just voted on it at our meeting practice.
Okay. So just to clarify, so the money has not been transferred yet. Okay, good. Okay, just double checking. This is a consensus item. Are there any discussion or objections regarding the student wellness programming fund for this? Okay, seeing none, it's been approved by consensus. Next up, we have ASUCLA DOD. We have our new budget review director present.
Do you guys want copies? I brought copies of it too.
Sure.
Alright, so this quarter, we were able to recommend 100% of our funds, which is $147,466.97 plus the surplus from last year, which is $14,252.83, which totals $161,669.80. And we had 80 programs apply this quarter, really. So the average allocation was about $2,020.87 with a standard deviation of $2,008.15. Last quarter, we only had 29 programs apply for DOD, and the average for that was $3,051.04, with a standard deviation of $5,386.87. So in short, the funds that we have were only about 32% of what was requested by student groups this quarter. With 29 programs with an average allocation of 3,000, and this quarter with 80 programs and an average of 2,000, I think hopefully in the future I would like to see an average allocation to the program on campus remain a little bit more consistent. So I think with the stats that we got from this quarter and last quarter, hopefully next year we will be able to divide the funding so the average allocation is a little bit more consistent between the two.
So before we get a motion, I want to open the floor for any questions that you may have before we get to discussion. Any questions do you have for me? I have a question. So when you're giving the allocations by DOT, so you're giving 161,000 for the spring quarter, or is it divided in half? In the first half of the year, not second half of the year. When we voted on DOT, was it for, so that was the allocations, you said 100% of the allocation was given for this quarter?
I'm talking about, yeah, 100% of what was given in this quarter. So, and I just added the surplus to what we have for this quarter.
Okay.
So surplus was about 14,000, and then what we had originally was 147,000.
Gotcha. And then what was the, if you had the total allocation for last quarter, what was it?
The total allocation for last quarter?
Yeah.
I believe it was, I think it was in about 58,000. It wasn't as much, because most programs have been in the spring.
Right.
So more or less.
Does anyone have any general questions for Johnny before we put a motion on the table? Second?
Sorry, just to clarify, winter quarter allocation was 88,000 for committee.
It was 88,000, okay.
Okay.
So it's half of this quarter.
Okay, and that was a standard deviation of 3,000, this is 2,000?
The standard deviation for this quarter is 2,000, the standard deviation of last quarter was 5,000.
Okay.
Some orgs only request like $100, like $200 compared to like other organizations, because there's no limit on how much they apply to, so it's really minor.
And then there were more orgs that applied for this quarter than.
Yes, more than double.
Okay. Okay, any other general questions? Okay, so I now will entertain a motion. A motion. Please. Okay, is there a second? Second by Zach. Okay, now we'll go ahead and open the floor for any discussion. One point that I would like to make is, as per Stephanie and Ricardo's suggestion, we did allocate the 14,000 to BOD from surplus.
We didn't actually allocate because that was carryover.
That was carryover. Gotcha.
If surplus was higher, like prior years, and then we would have done a lot more.
Right, we ended up allocating the rest of it to contingency and to capital. Okay. Just one thing to note, we, as per the suggestion of our appointed finance committee and BRD, we chose to give the money to just because that was a more utilized fund. And Ricardo said projected that would necessarily be used for this term or not as much so necessary. Zach?
Sorry, this question I just thought of this. Is the amount of surplus you have that comes over, is that from the money that isn't used for past allocations of previous years? It comes back into BOD as surplus. What does the surplus come from exactly?
Since it's not coming from mandatory fees, but it comes from earnings from ASUCLA, it comes over as a restricted surplus, so it stays in channel.
Okay. But it's from groups that didn't utilize past allocations.
And then we have determined within our surplus how much goes to BOD, or if you choose to allocate to BOD, will be today. Okay.
I just want to say how much I appreciate the attentiveness and observation to the imbalance between quarters and the interest in doing something to level that in the future.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion regarding our ASUCLA BOD allocations? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against and those abstained. 1. To a 10-0-1 vote, the allocation for ASUCLA BOD has been approved. Let's give a round of applause to our new BRD meeting. Thank you so much. Okay. So next up on the agenda, we have a discretionary fund request. For a workbook?
Yeah, so the fund request is for $300 for extra storage for the USAC website. On the agenda, I attached both of the invoices from December and from January, and highlighted is the extra charge. And I'll read the explanation that Patty sent me after speaking with our IT. She said, attached are the previous bills for our server space. The attachments reflect the increased cost when we had to accommodate more space to add contingency and capital contingency. We have had to increase the space again, so the bills have increased to $211.08. The request for discretionary funding for $300 will cover the additional costs that were not included in our original PO and budget. So at the beginning of the year, when all of you voted on the budget, part of the administrative overhead is our funds to operate the USAC website and all of the IT requirements that are needed to function throughout the entire year. So with the increased space of this funding portal, we have incurred additional costs. Patty says below is a chart that reflects the initial charge of $172.57, which reference to December 2015 invoice number 007N6N, an increase of $30.01 per month for the January 2016 month due to increased storage. The total for January 2016 was $202.58, referred to invoice attached that is 008ATI. We currently expect an $8.50 per month increase for the storage increase requested. So our charge now will be $211.08 per month. If USAC decides to increase storage, the monthly charge will increase too. The current PO in place does not cover the $30.01 and $8.50 monthly increase or any additional increases. So the USAC will have to cover all of the attendance. Okay. And any money that is so if we do decide to add even more operations to the funding website, that will incur more costs, which would be taken out of the $300 discretionary fund, which is why I'm making it for $300 and not the exact amount listed in this invoice. And so all leftover money, so we're allocating more, 300, or my request is for more, $300. All money that is not spent would go back to discretionary.
So we've got the presentation. So before we get a motion, I'd just like to open the floor for any questions. Yeah.
If storage is increasing, or has increased, will that be part of the district overhead next year, or will?
Yeah, so this is only a temporary fix to our increased demands, and so next year it would just be already included in the administrative overhead that council would vote on at the end of the year.
And to follow up, how long does this cover the increased storage sources? Until next budget, or is this monthly?
Yes.
Expense?
So the monthly cost is $30.01 and $8.50.
Okay.
Monthly increase.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions that we have for regarding the discretionary fund request? Okay, I can entertain a motion. Zach?
I move to approve the discretionary fund request free of charge.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Ruby. So now any discussion regarding the discretionary fund request? Heather?
Stephanie, can you bring up the amount that would be left in discretionary if the $300 were to be approved?
Yes. So there would be, if it's approved, then there will be $14,750.47 left.
And just to comment, there are two pending discretionary requests. One for the diversity town hall, we're still waiting for receipts. And then the second is for the plaque for Dr. Murphy Nelson to put up. So just for council to be aware, those requests are due by the end of April. But just know those are two pending. Are those factored into the amount that you had given, or?
The diversity town hall was, but not the plaque, because I don't carry the estimate, so I couldn't.
Okay, so we'll send you the invoice. So just know that those are, there's another, I think it was, I can't remember the exact amount, but we had voted on those are around 200-ish. But just know that those are two pending requests that have also been reported on discretionary. Is there any other points of discussion, or any other questions? Okay.
Do we know when we will get the plaque, or like,
Yeah, so all amounts for discretionary due April 29th. April 29th, so we'll have it before April 29th, yeah. Any other discussion regarding discretionary? Stephanie?
Yeah, I would just like to encourage council to utilize discretionary, of course, for the needs, because it is money that is next to use this year by the district council. So if you have any programs or things that you would like funded that you weren't able to fund through other funding sources, then I would encourage use of high or to do that.
was, something that I mentioned before, I think a couple of weeks back when we were going through the budget. One that I really kept interested in is, any kind of leftover money, hopefully it's substantial, but, putting that to the endowment, increasing that. In terms of just my own personal views, I think that building up an endowment to create long-term sustainable funding for students, should be at the forefront of what we're looking at in terms of for the future. When you're looking at a lot of institutions across the nation, they rely so much on their endowments in terms of funding, different entities. And I would love to see us as a body really look into that.
Any other points of discussion regarding the current discretionary request? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against? And those that abstain? 2, 11, 0, 0 votes. The discretionary fund request was then approved. Next up, we have our capital contingency fund.
Yes. So there was one office that applied of the academic commission for computers. AC required $1,147.41. They requested the same amount, and the finance committee recommended $1,000.
Okay. So this is an action item, so I'm entertain a motion. Zach?
I move to approve capital contingency allocation $4,000.
And is there a second? Second by Ariel. Any discussion? Yep.
How much is left?
If it's approved, it will be $3,338.
Okay. Any other points of discussion or question? Seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, sorry.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against and those that abstain. To a 10-0-1 decision, the capital contingency allocation has been approved. Next up, we have our LGBTQ special presentation. Is our presenter present? Okay. Why don't we table it? I'll put it on the agenda after announcements, and if we don't have the presenter here for both of our special presentations, then I will go ahead and we'll just do it. Okay? So we'll go ahead and table just for formality purposes. We get a vote and a motion and then a second and a vote with regards to tabling the 2 presentations later on the agenda. So just the notes. Zach?
I move to move the special presentations to after announcements.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Ariel. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against and those abstain. 2 and 11, 0, 0 vote. We'll go ahead and table the 2 special presentations to after announcements. Next up, we have new business. First up for new business, we have our election calendar change. So we'll go ahead and pass it over to you all.
Hi, my name is Danielle Fitzgerald, and I'm the director of the endorsement committee for election board, and I'm here to present a change for when candidate signboards can go up. So as of right now on the calendar, it's for Sunday, March 1st at 12:01 a.m. and we're moving to Saturday, April 30th at 12:01 a.m. So it would be the night right after the candidates.
And what is the date for candidates? The debate?
The debate is right now, Friday, April 29th.
Okay, great. So before we entertain a motion, I want to just go ahead and open the floor for any questions. Dr. Miller?
I'm curious with the reason.
I believe that council might have requested to change it. I think it's just easier for them if they can have it all in one night to have the putting up this boards the night of the debate. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it was a request of council last time there was a calendar change. So thank you so much to election board for investigating it and bringing forward the change. So I can entertain a motion to approve the change election calendar.
I move to approve the proposed election calendar.
All right, is there a second? Second by Ian. I'll put the floor for any discussion. That was one thing Lindsay was checking out, was just seeing about possibility, so, I agree with you. Okay, seeing no other discussion, we'll go ahead to a vote, all in favor?
Yeah, all candidates that are running in this election take state funds, so because it has to do with their election.
So according to class, maybe you don't have to really correctly, but according to last year, we still had candidates go on, election ballot, as well as.
No, we just think.
Yeah.
Just wait, I think it should be up to each candidate whether or not they'd like to abstain, and if it does end up being problematic, then suffer consequences either way. But I'm saying, I don't think we can impose that decision upon any individual council member. I think it's up to each individual council member to decide if they would like to vote or not. So.
Yeah, and conflict of interest is defined as being a financial conflict of interest, so this would have to do with finance.
Conflict is a benefit from the outcome of the vote. So if a candidate would interpret this as providing a benefit one way or the other, they might choose to abstain to avoid the perception of conflict. There's no financial impact here, but there still may be a perceived benefit.
Does that make sense?
And I would agree that it would seem like it's an individual decision to how they want decisions.
All right, so we have a motion with a second, so we'll go ahead into a vote. So all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those against, and those that abstain. 1, 2, 3, 4. So to a 7-0-4 decision, the election calendar change has been approved. So next up, we'll go to the election ballot. So will you all be presenting on that? Okay, great.
So the ballot order was determined obviously by the election code. So the order of the offices is determined by the USAC bylaws, and within each office, the order of the candidates was determined based on lottery at candidate orientation on Friday. Following this is the referenda with the USAC approved and the chancellor office approved language.
Okay. So I want to quickly refer to Dr. Miller regarding the referendum language.
Sure. So, as you know, you voted to put 4 referenda on the ballot. You voted on language that you wanted to go through the approval process. And all of the referenda went to the Office of the President for review. There were minor changes made to all 3 of the referenda that would result in fee increases, not including the TGIF, which would not change the fees. The student leaders who were on point for each of the referenda reviewed the required changes and gave their support for the changes that had been requested. So the language that has been forwarded for preparation of the ballot is the language as approved by Office of the President and the student who was the liaison for each. The referenda are now in the process of gaining approval from the Chancellor. There is not time to make changes. We have no reason to expect that he would want changes since it has gone through the Office of the President's review process. If there were to be significant changes, we would bring back to council and determine what the next steps were. But any changes he might request would then require the review and approval of Office of the President again. And so with the timing that's needed for the ballot, while things can be removed, my understanding is there isn't time to make changes. And so as soon as we get those final approvals, we will let you know that it is final. If for some reason something were not approved, it could result in a removal from the ballot. And then again, we would have the opportunity in the next few weeks before elections to discuss that and make those actions.
Okay. So now that information, I'll open up the floor for any questions that we might have for Dr. Geller or for our election board representatives. Okay, and again, for the ballot order, it was randomly selected at candidate orientation, drawn out of the hat. So just for everyone to have context about the order that was selected and what we were voting on. Okay, so I can entertain a motion to approve the election ballot. Heather?
I move to approve the election ballot as presented.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Ariel. So I'll go ahead and open up for any discussion.
Could you explain so like all the referendums are just kind of like, okay.
They were chosen at candidate orientation order. And I sent all of you the language, so it's just the language copy and pasted into this order.
Okay, any other questions or discussion regarding the ballot information and voting on the election ballot? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into a vote. So all in favor of approving the election ballot, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against and those abstain. 2, 3, sorry. To a 9-0-3 decision, the election ballot has been approved. Thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it. Thank you. So seeing, yay. Okay. So seeing that both of our special presenters are not present, we'll go ahead and skip over that agenda item. I'll go ahead and table the LGBTQ presentation, Heather. We'll go ahead and table it to next week. Okay, perfect. And then the special presentation by Avi overall, we will not table since he's just here for the week. All right, so next up we'll move on to announcements. Again, please be sure to fill out the Google Doc. I will have Gilma resend it out to everyone. Tiffany's also going to make it look nice. So I'll have her resend it out to everyone. So again, she will be the one that will be updating it. So please be updating that with events. I did want to open the table for any last comment, events anyone has added since adding it to the Google Doc or any other information they'd like to present to council. Okay. Seeing no additional announcements, I can go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn. Jen?
I move to adjourn the meeting at 8:08 Tuesday, April 5th.
Wow. Is there a second? Second by Zach, so enthusiastic. All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those against and those abstaining. Wait, I'm sorry, can we count one more time? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Those against and those abstaining. 11-0-0 vote. I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 8:08.